And here we are. Let's make sure that the video is all working well on my side. Fantastic. All right, we are all set. So hello everyone who's already joining. Hello Miles, I see you in the chat. How you doing? Today we're going to be doing another live deck tech. A lot of changes going on with the Command Valley, so it's going to be pretty swell, and we'll talk about it a little bit throughout the video. So if you're just joining, let me go ahead and introduce myself. I am Griffin from the Command Valley. We are a YouTube channel based around EDH and Commander, and we do a lot of deck techs and gameplay videos and some podcast episodes as well. So if you're new to the channel, click like on this video, subscribe to the channel, check out all of our other awesome content, and welcome my fellow goats. Okay, so the way that these work, these live deck techs, what you'll see on the screen here is we have, I have Scryfall, we have Moxfield is what we're going to use to build the deck as well, and we're going to be building it live on stream with everybody who's watching. So the more that we get interaction, the more that you suggest things, the more and the better the deck will be. We have the live chat up here as well, so feel free to drop a hello, just like Miles has, and I'll have it up so I'll be able to see all of your suggestions or comments and questions if you have any. We have just a notepad here to put down things so I don't forget them. But today, as you can probably see, we're going to be building Extus Oriq Overlord from Strixhaven. So let me go ahead and read Oriq Overlord, or Extus. He's 1 white, black for a 2/4 legendary creature human warlock with double strike. He's got Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, return target non-legendary creature from your graveyard to your hand. And then he also flips into the backside, because it's a modal DFC card. It's Awaken the Blood Avatar. For 6 black-red, we have a sorcery. As an additional cost to cast a spell, you may sacrifice any number of creatures. This spell costs 2 less to cast for each creature sacrificed this way. So just with 3 creatures, it'll be just 2, 1 red and 1 black, which is pretty cool. But what does it do? Each opponent sacrifices a creature. You create a 3/6 black and red avatar creature token with haste, and whenever this creature attacks, it deals 3 damage to each opponent. So that's pretty cool. That's not like a super crazy effect for an 8-drop, but the thing that we have to realize is it's discounted, which means if you sacrifice 3 creatures, it's only a red and a black. Goes back to the command zone. You can cast it again by sacrificing 4 more creatures. It's only a red and a black. So you could potentially get a lot of 3/6 red avatar creature tokens. And we'll talk about the front side, which is Extus. Having a buyback, so to say, from your graveyard to your hand every time you cast an instant or sorcery is really powerful. It really just doubles up all the removal that you have in here. So you cast a Doomblade and then you just get a creature back from a graveyard to your hand. That's really nice. So the goal of this deck, how I assume it's going to be, is it's going to be an Aristocrats style deck. If you don't know what Aristocrats is, let's see me spelling this. Aristocrats. Aristocrats essentially means that you have a lot of creatures that you're trying to sacrifice for value, and then repeat that cycle over and over. Wilson, I just opened up an EA foil version of this. Nice to know live deck tech is happening. I'm super glad that you're excited for this, because I'm very excited for this deck. You should make a Cody deck tech. He is super fun, especially if you can get Joe to out. There is actually a Cody deck that is happening. So for Duel of the Peaks, the next deck I'll be playing is a Cody deck. It's only going to be using cards from Kaldheim, Strixhaven, and Time Spiral Remastered. But I am thinking about building just a complete Cody deck. It seems like a lot of fun. So Miles, that might be the next deck tech that we're going to do, but we'll just have to see. But today we're focusing on Extus. So Aristocrats. The goal of this deck, what I would personally see as the goal of the deck is Extus is the engine, right? You use Extus, get some creatures out that make tokens or little creatures. You sacrifice them for value, and then you get those creatures back when you cast your instants and sorcery. So it's the value engine piece. The backside, I think, personally, is going to be one of our finishers. Because the way I see it, if you have a lot of creatures out, a lot of tokens, a lot of little things, because it doesn't say any non-token creatures, it says any number of creatures, then you can sacrifice it to get this Awaken the Blood Avatar spell. And you can do that multiple times a turn. Because you say you cast a spell, you sacrifice 3 creatures, you get the 3/6 avatar. It goes back to the command zone. It costs 2 more, so you have to sacrifice 4 creatures, but you can do it again. And the way that I want to set this deck up is to do it many, many times. And there's different things that we can do with that. So let's start thinking about the first part of Extus. I think the first thing that we're going to want is creatures that create tokens. So token creatures. So let's go ahead and just Google this up. Let's just do MTG token creators. Or let's do token makers. Let's see what will pop up. I use Google a lot for this, so not really trying to stray away from EDH Rec. I just like to use Google because it gives me a lot of like outside suggestions. Because EDH Rec is it's not minimal, but the suggestions they have in EDH Rec are just the ones that people are playing, not necessarily the ones that are outside of that realm that we'd really like to put in here. So I'm already seeing a couple ones that we like here. We have Bitter Blossom. Where did I see Bitter Blossom? Bitter Blossom is great. We can put a 1/1 fairy onto the battlefield on each of our upkeeps, which is really, really nice. It's a 2-drop, and it happens every single turn. So I like it. Let's put Bitter Blossom in here. And I will say this is not necessarily going to be a budget list. We're going to have some budget options, but right now we're just trying to get the main idea of the deck together. I did see another one, which is Sengir Autocrat, which is really, really nice. When it enters the battlefield, you get 3 0/1s, and we don't really care about them being 0/1s because we're just sacrificing them for value. Miles is a good card for this deck. It looks like the X spell where you can create X1/1s. That is an excellent X1/1. So there's the red one, which I believe is called it's the summoner. Hold on. It's the red one from Rivals. Tilonali Summoner. That one you can create X1/1 tapped elemental creature tokens that are tapped and attacking at the beginning of the next X step. Exile those tokens unless you have the City's Blessing. And what's really nice about this is we won't really care about having the City's Blessing because we're probably going to just sacrifice them on the turn it comes out anyway. Ron, what about Spell Copy Shenanigans for tokens, spells, and Blood Avatar? That was another thing I was going to say, Rowan, and thank you for reminding me, is that there's, since the other side of Extus, did I actually add that in? I did. Okay, so let's look at the other side of Extus. So Awaken the Blood Avatar is a sorcery spell, which means we can copy it with certain cards, such as, well, they're called fork spells, but I have to go ahead and get a couple of these. There's plenty of them, so let's, yeah, fork spells, MTG. Like Double Cast. When you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell, you may choose new targets for the copy, which is really, really good because there's only 2 red. We need to make sure that we have 2 red open or whatever mana that we're going to use, such as Twin Cast is another one that's in blue, so we can't really use that. But Reverberate, Double Cast, there's the one that just got printed. Yeah, there we go. Reiterate, that we can copy Awaken the Blood Avatar to get multiple things off of it. And that's also a really good thing to do because you don't need the creatures for it. However, the debate on this is whether you want to... It's probably good to have a couple of slots open for those copy spells because just like you said, Rowan, you can copy your token makers, you can also copy your removal. But I wouldn't go so heavy into it because you don't want those dead cards in your hand. If you have too many copy spells and not enough creatures, then you're just going to be sitting there with copy spells in hand. But I do love that idea, and I would definitely put at least a couple. So let's put Reverberate into here. Repeated Reverberation. Just Reverberate. We want the cheap ones. Let's see. Double Cast. Almost there. If you're new to these deck techs, I'm terrible with the spelling. So add to the main board. Miles, Dual Caster Mage would be so good because it's creature, so you can sack it and then get it back. Yeah, with the front. Yeah, absolutely. So Dual Caster Mage is a creature that does the same thing, but we can fetch it back with our commander, which is super good. And the copy spells, the nice thing about those copy spells is that it does trigger our commander if it's out. Pyromancer's Goggles, let's check that out. That's why I use Scryfall. Pyromancer's Goggles. So it's a 5-drop artifact. Add red when that mana is spent to cast a red instant or sorcery spell. Copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. It is really good. It just got reprinted in Commander 2021. So yes, that is very, very good. There's actually a suggestion, Silent Hero, as someone said, Sedmore Witch, and Monastery and Peasy. Yes, this is exactly the type of things we want. We want token creators. So Young Peasy is amazing. I'm not going to put Young Peasy because he's not going to show up. Young Pyromancer, whenever he casts an instant or sorcery, we get a 1/1 elemental creature token. Super, super good. Sedgemore Witch, which is from Strixhaven, which is the black token creator. Sedgemore Witch, which is the black token creator, which is really, really good too. It also triggers off of copying instant sorcery spells as well, so it's really good. And then we have Monastery Mentor, which is the white Monastery Mentor. There we go. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 white monk creature token with prowess. See, these are really, really good, and these are ones that we can get back with Extus on the battlefield. Now, I'm going to go ahead and pause here real quick, because we do have to talk about it. Extus being on the battlefield is important to our game plan, because it's our engine. But if you have Extus on the battlefield, you can't cast the other side for Awaken the Blood Avatar. So the reason why that's important is because if you want to do the Awaken the Blood Avatar, Extus has to be in the command zone for you to do that. So that's why I talked about Extus as the engine and not the finisher, because you can't do it with Extus on the battlefield. So you want to really set this up over the course of your game, getting those things back, creating a lot of tokens, and then sacrificing Extus, bring it back to the command zone, and then start casting Awaken the Blood Avatar. Another idea that I really like for this deck is steal spells. Now the reason why, if you want to cast the other side, you have to sacrifice creatures. So if you can have spells in Magic's history that steal creatures, specifically all creatures, then you're going to have a really good time. There are high mana costs to those cards normally, but think of things like Mob Rule, where you can just take everybody's stuff, sacrifice it to get your Awaken the Blood Avatar. I'm not sure how many I want to put in here, because those abilities tend to require a lot of mana, and since we're in Mardu colors, we don't have a lot of great options for ramp, so I don't want to get too intensive with the mana that we have. But it would be really, really fun to steal people's creatures and then sacrifice them. Cast Awaken the Blood Avatar, they have to sacrifice more creatures. Super, super good. Miles, with the new card, Plumb the Forbidden be good? Plumb the Forbidden. Let's see, Plumb the Forbidden. One in a black for an instant as additional cost of the spell. You may sacrifice one or more creatures. When you do, copy the spell for each creature sacrificed this way. As additional cost. Yes, that's very good. I like the way you're thinking, Miles. So if we look at Extus, it triggers off of whenever we cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell. Plumb the Forbidden says you have to sacrifice these creatures to cast a spell. So you can sacrifice the creatures, cast the Plumb the Forbidden, copy it however many times, get all those creatures back. So essentially it's one in a black, bounce a bunch of creatures back to your hand, draw a bunch of cards. The same thing applies for things like Village Rites. That's not what I wanted. Village Rites is 1 black for an instant as additional cost of the spell, sacrifice a creature, then draw 2 cards. So essentially with our commander out, we can read 1 in a black instant, bounce a creature, draw 2 cards. Also the X spell talking about was Secure the Wastes. Yes, anything that creates a bunch of tokens. Secure the Wastes. Specifically instants and sorceries. Yeah, that's amazing. Secure the Wastes. Love it. Because it's something that's going to trigger our commander as well. Other sacrifice spells to get rid of Extus would be useful to use both sides. Yes, you're going to need some redundancy in your sacrificing things. So specifically, one of the best ones that I'm thinking is Ashnod's Altar, which is essentially just going to let you use your creatures for mana no matter what, even if it's not for Extus. And the price of them are really good right now. But yes, you want redundancy so that you can sacrifice Extus and then start casting the other side. So let's put Ashnod's Altar in here. Ashnod's Altar. There we go. But yes, there's plenty of other X spells that create a bunch of tokens. So let's look at those X spell token makers. So we've already got Tilani Summoner in here. Call the Copper Coats is really, really good. I think it's a severely underrated card. It's got Strive, so this spell costs 1 and a white more to cast for each target beyond the first. Choose any number of target opponents. Create X 1/1 human soldier creature tokens, where X is the number of creatures that opponents control. So that's so good for 3 mana. Okay, so let's put that in here. Call the Copper Coats, or is it Call of the Copper Coats? No, it's just Call the Copper Coats. There it is. We'll lean away from the Krenko token generation since she's legendary. Krenko is just a really, really good token maker on its own. The reason why I don't want to put Krenko in here specifically, maybe not there's some other ones we could have conversations about, but specifically, Krenko is one that people go to remove on site. Every single game I've played where I've played a Krenko, it's removed. So you have to put extra protections in to protect it. But we don't have a lot of Goblin synergy, so it's not something we can use right off the bat and get a lot of tokens from it. And it is legendary. I think that is a good point, Rowan, is that Extus only returns non-legendary creatures from a graveyard to your hand. Let's see, we don't have a lot of synergies yet, but Tasia Karlov would be good. So let's read Tasia Karlov. Because Tasia Karlov is also... Oh, geez. Let's just do Karlov and see if it pops up. Fantastic. So, if a creature dying causes a triggered ability of a opponent you control to trigger it, that ability triggers an additional time. Your tokens you control have Vigilance and Lifelink. I'm trying to debate on Tasia Karlov here, because the reason why is we don't have a lot of death triggers in our deck. We just want to have things that ETB and do something, right? I mean, we could, like you were saying, we don't have death synergies yet. We could put death synergies in here, but I really want death synergies that create tokens. So let's put Tasia Karlov. I'm going to go ahead and put Tasia Karlov in our maybe pile here. Maybe Tasia Karlov. All right, let me go ahead and read the chat. Would Buried Alive be good? Buried Alive, let's read it. For those of you who don't know what Buried Alive does, it's a sorcery, 2 and a black, search your library for 3 creature cards and put them into your graveyard and then shuffle your library. Yes, very, very good. It's something that can get our... If we don't have any of the pieces that we want in our hand, Buried Alive can get those into our graveyard and then we can return them with Extus. So it's really, really good. Buried Alive. Empty the Warrens, probably not for card, but I might have it too. I love Empty the Warrens. So here's... Okay, so let's look at Empty the Warrens. It's hard to start off with this card, but let's theoretically say that we have casted Awaken the Blood Avatar, the other side of Extus, 3 times, because we had so many creatures to sacrifice. Takes a lot of mana, but if we can cast Empty the Warrens, we can get 8 more red goblins to cast it again. And it gets creatures back from your graveyard to your hand. The ones that you just sacrificed. I don't know. I like Empty the Warrens. Let's put it in the maybe pile. Let's sit on it and see how it feels. Empty the Warrens. Come to think of it, Empty the Warrens can be fantastic in the right scenario. Yeah, exactly. In the right scenario, it can be really, really, really good, but it requires a lot of setup, requires a lot of mana, so... Let's put it on the maybe pile for now. Very medium bet. Old Perforos. That's something that we haven't talked about yet, which is our other win conditions. We don't... No. Perforos. We don't want everything to hang on just Awaken the Blood Avatar, because let's say it gets countered, we can still keep casting it, which is great. We want to have other ways of finishing the game, and I think Perforos is a very, very good way of doing that. But let's sit on it for a second, because it is already going to... It's already going into our strategy about making tokens. Other Tasia. Other Tasia. Are you talking about the one that creates tokens? So we have 3. Envoy of Ghosts I don't love. You want to get tokens. This disincentivizes you from getting tokens. because people just don't want to attack you. Tasia, whenever another black creature you control is put into a graveyard from play, put a white. Actually, that's really, really good. Again, it's legendary, so we really want to get things that are non-legendary, but this is super synergistic in our deck because all the black tokens that we're sacrificing, we get more tokens from it. Again, I want to put this in the maybe pile. We don't want to fill ourselves up with legendary creatures. Tasia or Zovslion. Chandra, Accolade of Flame, Tavash Sot, Doom of Fools, Queen Marchesa, Thalise, Reverent Medium are legendaries I've been having trouble not putting into Extus. Okay, I don't actually know what Doom of Fools is. Oh, no, it's just Tavashat Doom of Fools. Okay, I thought that was a different card. Yes, the legendary creatures, we really want to stray away from legendary creatures because we're not going to be able to get them back. They have to be really, really good that we can use only once to justify putting it in the deck. Stuffed creatures that create token synergy seems really good. Pawn of Ulamog is an excellent one. Another one that's really, really good is Pitiless Plunderer. Pitiless. There we go. Pitiless Plunderer. Because it counts all creatures, not just non-token creatures, and we're going to be creating a lot of non-token creatures. So we sacrifice those non-token creatures. We get treasures that we can use to cast our spell again. So, love it. No, not Mitty. Pity. That's how we do it. Okay, very good. Okay, alright, so let's keep looking. Pawn of Ulamog. Let me read Pawn of Ulamog again. Of Ulamog. I believe Pawn of Ulamog only triggers off non-token creatures. Yes, it's non-token creatures, but you do create the Eldrazi spawns. So let me. I like it. I like it. Let's put it in for now. It's something that we can get back, so we can keep sacrificing it. Pawn of Ulamog. Add to main board. Let's see. Okay, so we've got Endrixar, Master Breeder. Endrixar is one of my favorite token creators. It's whenever you cast a creature spell, it's situational. That's my debacle with it, is that it's situational. It's also legendary, so it doesn't synergize well with our commander itself. So let's put it in the maybe pile, because I do love a good Endrixar. Sar. Sure, whatever. Culling the Weak. Is it just cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature, add 3 black. That's really, really good. That's going to ramp us up into our bigger plays. And it also works really well with our commander because we can just return them back. I'm curious if there is a way for us to be able to get an instance or sorcery back in black for 3 mana on a creature. Something like a Archaeomancer, so that we can loop the Calling of the Weak, creating infinite mana, infinite black mana. I don't know if there is one. I can do that research on that later. We won't spend the time here doing it, but that would be really, really cool. But yes, Calling the Weak. Calling the Weak. Zai Howdoon. Make sure I'm spelling that right. I don't know which card this is. The one-eyed legendary creature, Horseman, sacrifice it. Return target black card from your graveyard to your hand. Activate this ability only once during your turn before attackers are declared. Before attackers are declared. Okay, activate this only during your turn before attackers are declared. Okay. So you can storm off with it. No, you need you need another mana to do that, because you have to cast the Calling of the Week again. Anarchist. Yes. The problem is, in order to loop it, because if I go back to Calling of the Week, in order to loop it, we would need it for it to be 2 mana to get infinite mana off of it. Because we need the 4 to cast the creature, and then we need 1 to cast Calling of the Week again. So in order for us to net anything, have 1 left over, it can only cost 2. Which I don't think there is one just yet. Stitcher Supplier, really good 1-drop. Actually, a pretty expensive uncommon too. When it ETBs or dies, mill 3 cards. Yes, very good. We want to fuel our graveyard as quickly as possible, but not too much. You need cost reduction stuff to do the loop if you really want loops. Yeah, exactly. You'll need something else. I'm not gonna go into it. I think it'll take a lot of research to see if it even does work. I don't think it does. Alright, so let's see what we've got so far. We've got plenty of creatures that give us tokens. That's great. We have our copy spells. We have our instants that create... Oh, double cast is a sorcery. I didn't know that. We have the instants of sorceries that create tokens, and then we have our sacrifice outlets. So let's talk more about token creators. Some really good ones are things like... It's the black one that makes... It's not Vindictive Vampire. It is a witch where you get tokens equal to the number of opponents you have. Is it Chittering Witch? It is Chittering Witch, so let's bring it up. Chittering Witch, when it ETBs, create a number of 1/1 black rat creature tokens equal to the number of opponents that you have. And also kind of a sacrifice outlet on here. Chris, we do have Singular, or I thought we put Singular Autocrat. Did I forget to put it in? Yes, Singular Autocrat. We talked about it. I don't know why I didn't put it in. So Singular Autocrat, it's great. And then we have our Chittering Witch, which are great because they're cheap creatures that we can cast, bring them back with our instants and sorceries, get more tokens. Theoretically, we could loop this multiple times in a turn. Let's see. Some other ones, token creators. Piper of the Swarm creates us tokens. Sure. There's a lot of good white ones. Let's look at the white token makers. Increasing devotion, you get 5, so that's really good. Trying to see Evangel of Heliod, a little bit expensive. Now that I'm looking at it, it does seem like... Actually, you know, Martial Coup might seem really, really good. Because if we want to get rid of Extus, we can just use Martial Coup, get rid of everything, and then we can get those tokens and use them to cast Rise of the Bloodlord. Or... what is it called? Why am I forgetting? I've looked at it multiple times now. Awaken the Blood Avatar. There we go. Ogre Slumlord. Yes, Ogre Slumlord is very good. Ogre Slumlord. It's going to get it to it. Okay, there we go. We have another non-token creature dies. You can create a 1/1 rat. It's non-token creature. Let's put it in the maybe. So let's look at Felice, because I've seen that recommended a couple times. That is one of the new cards from Commander 21. At the beginning of each... Oh, no, this is from Commander Legends. Oh, this is some... I'm thinking of something different. I'm thinking of a... It's like Felice or something very close. At the beginning of each end step, create X 1/1 white creatures tokens with flying, where X is the number of tokens you created this turn. Love it. It is legendary, but I think this is one of the legendaries that we can... excuse, because it gives us so much value that we don't really care if it's legendary or we don't really care that it is legendary. It's just that good. So let's put Fleece in here. Fleece. Add to main board. Okay. Keeper of the Accord. Yes, Keeper of the Accord is an excellent one. That also applies for ramp. That is an automatic. Keeper of the Accord. Let's see if that works. Bloodline Keeper. Wow, Bloodline Keeper is pretty cool too. Alright, Keeper of the Accord. Yeah, let me tilt it down. I don't know why I'm so short. There we go. A little bit better. Okay. Anointed Procession. Yes, Anointed Procession is one of those cards that, although expensive, there's a reason why it's expensive. It's just so good. For two reasons. Number one. Okay, fine. Number one, because it's going to double up all the tokens that we create with our token creators. All the little creatures are coming in, like Singular Autocrat. But also, it triggers off of our Awaken the Blood avatar as well, so we'd get 2 3/6s for one cast. 42. This card desperately needs a reprint, but it's going in. Anointed, only one N. I can spell. Anointed Procession, there we go. Keeper of the Accord, Assemble the Legion. Let's look at Assemble the Legion. I believe that's one that I glossed over. It's one of those X ones. Oh no, it's this one. Yes, it's the beginning of your upkeep, put a muster counter. This card, I'm on the fence on, honestly. I've had a couple of decks where I've wanted to put Assemble the Legion in, but it just doesn't get where I wanted it to. By the time I get a couple of tokens, some board wipe has happened or something like that. So I'm not completely sure. Let's put it in the maybe pile. Because if the game goes on a long time and you're able to recruit a ton of stuff, then it's really, really good. Tevesh Zot's Will, right? I don't even know it. How do you even spell it? Tevesh Zot's Will. Savat. Here we go. Oh, it's just Zot's Will. Choose one. If you control a commander, as you cast this spell, you may choose both. Each opponent sacrifices a creature they control with the greatest power. Exile all cards from all opponents' graveyards, then create X is 0/1 black throw creature tokens, where X is the greatest power among creatures exiled this way. I like it. It's 5 mana. We can cast it, and we get creatures back. Let's put this in the maybe. I actually really like that. The fact that it's an instant also, it sounds really good to me. But we'll sit on it for a little bit. Cheap buyback spells like Change of Heart or Imp's Taunt. Let's look at those. Change of Heart. Buyback. Target creature cannot attack this turn. Is that just to get creatures back from your graveyard? Just things that you can repeat? Ideally, I'd want something that does a good thing if we're going to have those cards in here. Imp's Taunt. Find the Taunt. Target creature attacks this turn if able. Yeah, it costs a lot of mana, and the ones with buyback, you can essentially just return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Now, the reason I'm not super fan of these is that you already have cards that are just 2 mana that return a creature from your graveyard to your hand anyway. So if we look, there's plenty of them. Return creature from graveyard to hand. Aid the Fallen. Just very simple. Returning target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, but it triggers off of Extus. We can get 2 instead. I think that's going to be more valuable instead of trying to spend a lot of mana to get 1 off of that. Yeah, this one's 1 mana, so you can. That's really good. Blood Beckoning, so you can get 2 back. Really like that. But let me go ahead and read. Felidar Retreat is excellent because that's already something that we're wanting to do anyway. Just putting lands into play. Felidar Retreat. Every time a land comes in, we create a 2/2 white beast. I love it. Really good. Felidar Retreat. Mayhem Devil. That just does some extra work on our deck. Mayhem Devil. It doubles up all of our sacrificing shenanigans, and it deals damage to our opponents. And it's whenever a player, so it can double up on our opponents sacrificing things as well when they have to sacrifice things from our Awaken the Blood avatar. So I love it. Mayhem Devils. Let's see. Have you considered things like Mythos of Snapdax and Tergrid to take sacrificed cards? I have not. Let's look at it. Let's chat about that for a bit. So let's look at Tergrid. There we go. Hopefully my internet isn't pooping. So Tergrid, whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent or discards a permanent card, you may put that card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. So this is one of those. This is one of those things where you have to look at it in terms of how it synergizes with your whole deck. Tergrid synergizes really well with Awaken the Blood avatar, but that's all it synergizes with. We don't have a lot of other ways of making our opponents sacrifice or discard, so that means it's a one-off thing only for Awaken the Blood avatar. And usually, a metric that I will use when I'm building decks, if it only synergizes with one card, even if it's on our command zone, it may not be as good as we want it to be. So that's why I'm going to put it in the maybe pile for here. Let's sit on it and see how it feels. Tergrid. Oketra's Monument. Oh, the monuments are great. Oketra's Monument. Oketra. There we go. I can spell. Whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 1/1 white warrior creature token with vigilance. That just doubles up on our tokens. So let's definitely put that in. Oketra. Oketra's Monument. There we go. Blot out the sky for a board wipe, perhaps. Blot out the sky. Yes. I like this a lot, but I just thought of what is that one from the commander deck that you get the tokens equal to the number of damage that you've taken. That's going to be an all-star. Ink Shield, is that what it's called? Ink Shield. This card is nuts. Just the... Holy cow. If you saw the gameplay we did for the C21 decks, I got hosed by this card. Absolutely hosed. So the fact that you can just threaten people with a bunch of damage and then sacrifice to do even more damage, I love it. I love it. Ink Shield. I wonder how expensive it is right now. Let's see. It's $10, I figured. If you want Incident, Dockside Extortionist, Extus, Worthy Cause. Yes, if you have Dockside Extortionist, you can go... Yeah, if you have Dockside Extortionist, you can go infinite with many, many things. But let me look at Worthy Cause here. Oh, well, I can't spell, so... Welcome to the podcast, where I cannot spell. Worthy Cause. There we go. Sacrifice creature. Yeah, so you just need your opponents to have 3 or 4 artifacts, bounce it back to your hand, cast it again, get the treasures, cast the Worthy Cause, buy it back, sacrifice the Dockside Extortionist, get it back to your graveyard. Yeah. Yeah, that's an excellent way to go go infinite. Chandra Acolyte Flame for token generation with extra uses for low-cost instant sorceries and graveyards. Okay, so that's the one that creates you some every single turn, but they don't stick around. Chandra Acolyte. So yeah, the minus 0s, you get 2 1/1s that don't stick around, and then -2, you may cast target instant or source card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard. If that card would be put into your graveyard this turn, exile it instead. I'm going to be maybe about this one. I don't love that the tokens don't stay around. That means we have to cast Chandra or use something with Chandra on the turn that we create the tokens. It doesn't pile up. You just get 2. They go away. 2. So I don't know. But the -2 is really good. We can use them 2 times, I assume, for our removal or our other cards, instants and sorceries that give us back creatures. So let's put it in the maybe pile for here. For now. Chandra Acolyte. Tormund, the Desecrated Mentor of the Meek. Might be good for my extra card draw. Yes, we'll get to the card draw in a second. Yes, Caleb, I love Inkshield. Are you focusing on Extus or the Bloodman? We're actually focusing on both. So for those of you just joining, let me go ahead and explain kind of what I'm thinking for this deck. Extus himself is very important in this deck as the engine, which means as we're building up our board, sacrificing things, getting value, drawing cards, killing opponents and whatnot. Extus is going to be our engine by returning things back to our hand to set us up for Extus's other side, which is Awaken the Blood Avatar, which is going to be considered our finisher. So I'm focusing on both. Awaken the Blood Avatar is the finisher, Extus as the engine. So let's look at Mentor of the Meek. Actually, there was one that I saw that I don't think I mentioned. There we go. Miles, you had an excellent suggestion here, which was Skull Clamp. If you were doing any kind of token deck, it's Caps because it's that important. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. That's how you're going to draw a crap ton of cards. Skull Clamp is like one of the best cards of all time in these kind of decks. Probably one of the most important ones too. In fact, so much that if I have a deck that uses a Skull Clamp, I'll usually have tutors just to find the Skull Clamp. Sun Titan. Let's look at Sun Titan. This is one that is a very good card. Sun Titan is really good, but it does very powerful things when it attacks and when it enters the battlefield. Well, we more are creating synergies with our tokens and our aristocrats synergies. So I don't know if Sun Titan is necessarily going to be that because it's 6 mana. Well, I would probably just prefer having a cheap removal spell that gets the card back into my hand and then cast it again. So let's put this in the maybe pile. Sun Titan. Living Lightning. Living Lightning cards. I believe I know what this is, but let's check it out real quick. That it's very cheap just for a token that goes away at end of turn. Oh, here we go. No, this is different. Yeah, this is the one from Jumpstart. When it dies, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. It is. I like it. It's synergistic. I just don't know how good it is as a 3 and a red drop. A 4 drop, I suppose. Also going to put it in the maybe pile. I'm sorry, guys. A lot of... The way that I build decks is very, very unique. I have a huge maybe pile. So just because I'm putting something in the maybe pile, don't think of it as a bad card. Just think of it as a... I'm just not... I have to think about it more. Desecrated Tomb works really well. Each time you bring back a creature card to your hand from the graveyard, you create a 1/1 flyer. Yes! Yes, yes, yes. That's very true, and I believe... Desecrated. I believe it is a 3-drop, which is really, really good. Because, yes, just like Wilson is saying, every time that we get a creature back from our graveyard to our hand with Extus, we create a 1/1 bat, which creates tokens, which is exactly exactly the kind of thing we want. Desecrated Tomb. All right, let's look at the time. 12:43. We've got about 15 more minutes. So we'll try to get the rest of this in here. I mean, so far we've got 20 cards. Don't have any of the lands yet. We probably won't be talking about the lands. We'll post it onto the video once the deck is done after this goes live. Is Abhorrent Overlord something, or is that too expensive of mana? So Abhorrent Overlord is the one that I believe it's the Devotion. So Devotion is tough because we're playing a 3-color deck. We want to stay away from things that, number one, cost a lot because we're in Mardu. We don't have a lot of ramp. And 2, we want to stay away from Devotion because we're not going to be able to get the full advantage off of it by playing 3 colors. Maybe 2 colors, but if you want Devotion, it's mostly going to be 1 color decks. Let's see, Song of the World Soul. Let's check that out. Song of the World Soul. Whenever you cast a spell, populate. Yes, that's very, very good. But it is 6 mana. So I'm debating. This is more of a long game thing. So yeah, let's put this in the maybe pile as well. Song of the World Soul. Viscera Seer is an absolute include in every Aristocrats deck because it is a sacrifice outlet, and we're going to need the redundancy in the sacrifice outlets. And also, if we need to smooth out our draws, we can do that as well. So Viscera Seer. There we go. Almost got there. Tormod the Desecrated and Sir Conrad. Let's look up both of those. Okay, so Tormod, which is from Commander Legend, I believe. Tormod the Desecrated. Whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, create a tap 2/2 black zombie creature token. It is legendary. I'm going to put that in the maybe as well. Tormod the Desecrated. And I'm also going to put Sir Conrad in here, just because these are very good ways of doubling up our damage. But we want to make sure that if they do that, we want them to be non-legendary like Mayhem Devil, and we also want them to be cheaper. So let's see. Yeah, I mean, Elspeth Sun's Champion is just a powerhouse of a card. Elspeth Sun's Champion. There we go. Yep, the +1, putting 3 1/1 soldiers is nuts, and it's also a really, yeah, I mean, if we're going to have a Planeswalker, it's going to be Elspeth. Putting it in the maybe pile just for now. Because it's more on the fringe. It's a 6-drop. A lot of the times I put the higher drops in the maybe pile because we have to sift through them really well. Woe Strider. Yes, Woe Strider is an awesome card. It doubles up as a token generator and also doubles up as a sacrifice outlet. So, super, super good. It's also one that you can get back from your graveyard. Woe Strider. Victimize. Yes, Victimize is wonderful. It's one of those ones where it triples, I guess, in this case, because you have 2 creatures. You sacrifice a creature to cast a spell. You get the creature back to your hand, anyone you want because of Extus, and then you get those 2 back to the battlefield. Love it. Victimize. Liliana Standard Bearer. Liliana Standard Bearer is a tough one. I've had it in a couple of decks, and it's never gotten to where I wanted it to. Every time I have a Liliana's Standard Bearer, I just rather have it at a other non-conditional draw instead of a conditional draw, if that makes sense. So we'll kind of look into the ways that we can just draw cards and keep Liliana's Standard Bearer in our minds. Twilight Drover is another token creator. The downside to Twilight Drover is that you have to use mana to do it, which means it's not going to be able to... it is a lot. You get 2 tokens for 3 mana, so if you have a lot of mana, then you can get a lot of tokens, and it can kind of combo with itself. So let's put Twilight Drover in the maybe pile too, because I can see this being really, really, really good in this deck. Twilight Drover. Sure! Let's do it, Twilight Drover. Jeez Louise. Alright. Field of the Dead, because you deserve a token each time you play a land. Oh yeah, well, Field of the Dead. We're playing a 3-color deck anyway, so you can pretty much assume that we're going to have tons of different lands. So Field of the Dead, which creates us tokens just for playing lands. S-Dog, is the plan for this deck Aristocrats to repeatedly cast the other side? Yeah, it is. That's going to be our main plan. We're going to talk about other game finishers in a bit, but the goal of this deck is to use Extus and get a lot of value and then cast the other side, which is Awaken the Blood Avatar, multiple times. I can definitely see a scenario where we can cast this 4 times in one turn. So, how does Blood Clock and Umbilicus sound for bouncing? Blood Clock. Beginning of each player's upkeep, that player returns a permanent hero she controls to its owner's hand unless he or she pays 2 life. I'm curious what your recommendation is for this, Roan. Is that just to bounce the creatures that you're making tokens with, so you can cast them again, make more tokens? I think that's what you're trying to do with this. Lifeline may be cool. Also, let's look at Lifeline. Whenever a creature is put into a graveyard and a creature is in play, return that creature from your graveyard to play at the end of turn. That is, I do like Lifeline a lot, but the reason I'm hesitant, number 1, it's 5 mana. Number 2, a lot of the creatures that we're going to have on our battlefield are going to be token creatures, so it's not going to trigger off of Lifeline, because when it goes into the graveyard, it's going to, it's just going to poof out of existence. Alenda is one that's going to give us a lot of value if we can get it going. Whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter, and then we can just use it. I mean, I like Alenda a lot. This can get really, really big, and it's so expensive now. I remember when this was only a couple bucks. All right. Woe is me. Alenda, I love Alenda. Alenda the Dusk Rose. Dictate of Erebos. Yeah, a way of controlling the boards. Dictate and Grave Pact are going to be perfect, because we're going to be sacrificing creatures anyway, constantly. So any Aristocrats deck that you have, you want a Dictate of Erebos or a Grave Pact. Raise the Alarm. Yes, Raise the Alarm. Blood Artist. Oh, yes, Blood Artist. So that's going to be another one of our ways to finish out the game. Or at least get our opponents to a lower life total so that it matters when those creatures from Awaken the Blood Avatar attack, because each opponent will lose 3 life. So I do like Blood Artist. Plus, you can get it back into your hand. You don't fear casting it early because you can get it back because of Extus. Fury Storm. Let's look at Fury Storm. I think this is the one. Actually, Kydell, this is a wonderful suggestion. I did not even think about this. So Fury Storm is one of those cycles. I believe it's from C 2018. When you cast a spell, copy it. For each time you cast your commander from the command zone this game, you may choose new targets for the copy. So you can cast your Awaken the Blood Avatar multiple times, right, in a turn. And then the next turn, you cast a Fury Storm and cast it again. You only need to do it once, because the Fury Storm is going to copy it for each time you've casted it. Ridiculous. I love it. That's the perfect card for this deck. Yes, and bounce Extus for the option. That's true, yeah, and you can bounce Extus so we can get it back into our hand. We don't have to pay the tax if we put it back into the command zone, so that's really nice. Solemn Simulacrum for ramp. Yes, we will definitely talk about ramp. Dimir House Guard, amazing sack-out that protects itself along with being used as an uncounterable tutor for 4 if needed. Let's look at it. Dimir House Guard. Fear sacrifice a creature, regenerate, and you can transmute it for 3. It's only 3. Search for a card. With the same mana value as this card. So what is the things that we're going to want to tutor with this card? I mean, there's plenty of good things, but it is very good as a sacrifice outlet, and it does protect itself. So let's put this in the maybe pile here. Dimir House Guard. I had another suggestion. I'm curious what you guys think of this. Since we're making tokens anyway, what do you guys think about... I have to think of what it's called. It skipped my mind. Hold on. Don't mind me. Divine Visitation. Because we're creating tokens anyway, this can just be a really good card that gives us... the pants. Gives us things that we can attack with. 4/4 angels. So I don't know... We'll put it in maybe, but I'm curious to see what you guys think of that. Visitation. Flamekin Herald. Flamekin. It's Kin, okay. Flamekin, Herald. Commander spells you cast have Cascade. Ooh! Yeah, I didn't even think of that with Weaken the Blood Avatar. We can essentially cast anything in our deck because nothing is going to cost 8. I think this is really, really, really funny. And I like this a lot, so I'm actually going to put this into the deck. So don't at me. Flamekin. Chris, you raise up an excellent point here. Let me go ahead and add the Flamekin Herald real quick. Where is it? Here we go. Skull Clamp. So here's my debate with Skull Clamp. Skull Clamp is really good at drawing you a bunch of cards, but if you draw into the Divine Visitation, that is going to be your win con. So wouldn't essentially Skull Clamp have done what you wanted it to do? It got you to the card that you needed. So in that case, is Skull Clamp no longer necessary? Because if somebody destroys the Divine Visitation, you can use a Skull Clamp again and draw cards. But if you don't, if somebody doesn't get rid of the Divine Visitation, then essentially you're just winning the game, right? There's nothing when you need an instant or sorcery token generator, though, so it's like a win con instead of a synergy. Yeah, that was exactly my point, Wilson, is that it's more of a win con or a finisher than it is synergy. So that's why it's in the maybe pile. Because there's a lot of different ways that we could have finishers in this deck, right? So you can just hit things like Exsanguinate. Oh gosh, how do I spell this? Exsanguinate. Just finishers like this, because let's say we've casted Awaken the Blood Avatar, twice? We haven't found a way to cast it more than twice. Our opponents have lost quite a bit of life, but then we just use Exsanguinate to finish everything off. I don't know. It's another finisher that goes really well in any black deck. Sunburn's Invocation is something... Yeah, Sunburn's Invocation is only from the hand. Zulaport Cutthroat. Zulaport Cutthroat. It ties into the Blood Artist. Zulaport Cutthroat. There we go. Mirror could also be your second Anointed Procession, Fiddle of the Dead, Sedmore Witch, etc. I mean, yeah, what's it called? Mirage Mirror? Yeah, Mirage Mirror is really, really good in mostly every deck. Yeah, I think it's just very synergistic. Let me put it in the maybe pile just for now. Pretty positive this is going to be really good, but we'll have to figure out how it synergizes with the rest of our deck first. Hangerback Walker does great probably if we want amazing token generators from creature sources. Because Hangerback Walker is not a hanger... Not... Oh, it's hanger. AR. Cast for 2. When it dies, so sacrifice it. We could loop that a lot. Yeah, that's really good. I like that. We can loop that quite a bit. It's a good token maker, and it's not legendary. So I like that a lot. Hangerback Walker. Toshiro. Bushido 1. Whenever a creature an opponent controls is put into your graveyard, you may play target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard. Target instant card. You may play target instant card in your graveyard. That spell would be... Not so sure of this because we're focusing on our creatures dying. This cares about whenever a creature an opponent controls dies. So we don't have a lot of control over that. So it seems like a counter synergistic card. Hidden Stockpile. Hidden Stockpile is really good. Yeah, let's take a look at it. Beginning of an instant, if a permanent you control left the battlefield this turn, create a 1/1 colorless server artifact creature token, and you can sacrifice a creature to scry 1. It creates more tokens. It's a 2-drop. I think I like that. I think that's an include. Hidden Stockpile. Jiska's will to cast Awaken the Blood Avatar a ton. Oh yes. Oh yes. We might be able to cast it. Yeah, because we need a lot of mana to do that. My dog's huffing. I wonder if you can see it, or if you can see him. Oh yeah, you can see him, just right in the corner there. That's Momo. He chose me. Anyway, so what was I talking about? Justice Will. I mean, Justice Will is just an amazing card to have in any deck. When it is in your graveyard, Extus is a creature. Yes, this is true, but we'll also, unstable games, we'll be able to return it back to the command zone. So we're not too worried about it going into the graveyard. If you want to elaborate on that, because maybe I didn't know what you meant. Let's see, be sure to miss anything. Because if so, let's see what we've got so far. We've got the makings, it's coming together. We've got 40 cards. Luminarch Ascension for token generation. Oh, well, yeah, Luminarch Ascension is amazing. I don't know how many of you have played a Luminarch Ascension in your decks, but if you get it out on turn 2, you kind of just sit on it and think, if nobody gets rid of this, I just win. Because 4/4 Angels on turn 4, it gets out of control. And it's an excellent token generator. Okay. Yep, very, very good card. Okay, so we're about getting to the end of this. We don't have the deck completely together yet. It's getting there. I can see it's coming together. I really like what I'm looking at. We've got a lot of token creators. We've got a lot of ways to cast and copy. Awaken the Blood Avatar. Other ways of being able to give us synergies. So let's talk about, real quick, because I want to do this. I didn't do this last time, but the mana ramp and the removal that we're going to put in here. Something I really like about this deck is that your removal, basically you can attach the words return target non-legendary card from a graveyard to your hand on every single removal spell that you have, which means removal in this deck is going to be very, very good, and we definitely want a lot of it. We want to be able to control the board at the same time as getting our creatures back. And then at the same time, we don't have a lot of ways of getting mana onto the battlefield with instants and sorcery, so it's not really important. So we're just going to use our basic signets, mana rocks, soul rings, whatnot, to get this to get our mana ramp going. But the option is up to you. What kind of removal you want to put in here? We have basically the best kind of removal. We've got access to the Orzhov colors with red, which means we have Bedevil. We have Mortify. We've got what's the Anguished Unmaking? The new one from Strixhaven, Vanishing Verse, which is really, really good too. Tons of really, really good cheap removal, and it really depends what you want to put into this deck. I'll go out. I'll find my preferred ones later. We won't really do that on stream. Because it's kind of boring. We want to talk the main part of the deck. But let's see. Phyrexian Altar, Fleshbag Marauder, and such. They're good for controlling the board for sure. Let's think on that. The reason why I don't want the Fleshbag Marauder because it doesn't give us tokens. Phyrexian Altar is really good for a sacrifice outlet. But Black Market is amazing. I think Black Market is a perfect include because the way that you want to, or when you put Black Market in your deck, you're planning on abusing it. So if you can cast the Black Market, sacrifice your board, you get a bunch of mana. It's like you didn't even sacrifice them anyway, and you just use them for the Blood Avatar part of Extus. So Black Market, if we can ramp into it, is really, really good, and it serves many purposes in our deck. Yes, Murderous Rider is really good because we can cast the instant or sorcery on that side, cast the creature, it dies, we sacrifice it, and we can get it back because it's a creature in the graveyard. Very good. Very, very good suggestion. Generous Gift has an elephant on it. Yes, that it does. Let's see. Crackling Doom. Is Crackling... That's Mardu, yeah? It's one white. black, or it's just black, white, red, I believe. Any minute now, Scryfall. Any minute. In case you have not noticed, because it might be not apparent, I've been slowly sinking during the course of this stream. And the only reason for that is I don't have a chair at the moment, so I'm just sitting on a box. And that box is slowly crumpling at my weight. So that was why I keep sliding down. So I apologize for that. It's like the scene in Johnny English where he's playing with the chair and he's just going up and down because he doesn't know how to control it. That's a very funny part. Okay, Cracking Doom deals 2 damage to each opponent. Each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures that player controls. Yeah, it's good. I just don't know what it serves apart from removing some creatures. Oh, as a way of getting creatures back and also as removal. I don't love. I don't love the conditional removal ones where you don't get to choose what dies. I just want things that can just get rid of anything and then we get a creature back. Rakdos Charm. I want to talk about Rakdos Charm real quick. This card has phenomenally helped me in many situations by basically just killing somebody. Yes, we will get a chair soon. It's the way I know that this stream is almost done is because this box is almost done. But yes, each creature deals 1 damage to its control. Oh, it's each creature? Okay, that doesn't really work for us. Well, no, that does, because we can sacrifice everything and then cast it. Okay, it's not as bad as I thought it was. But yes, I think that about does it for us. If you have any more questions or last things you wanted to add, please put them in the chat right now. But so far, we've got the makings of the deck here. What we'll do for these... yes, the stream ends when you can't see me anymore. But the basic idea that we want to do with these live deck techs is get the idea going, have all of you guys help me. Thank you so much for your suggestions. But yeah, the way that we do this is we do the live streams, we get the idea here, and then I will go after the stream, build the deck, put it on a Mox field, make it complete, and then we'll put it into the link of the video that will come out on YouTube, the VOD on YouTube. And I think that's basically it. So thanks everybody for joining in, for all your suggestions. Really appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with us, goats. And I hope you have a swell day, and we'll see you on the next video. Ciao, friends. I need to get myself an actual chair. Maybe I'll show you guys so you can laugh with me. I got the tape stuck. Okay. There you go. There's the box that I was thinking. We'll put it away. Yep, we'll measure the stream in boxes. And this is box number 1. Well, maybe I can flip it over. We'll see. This is the streaming life, by the way, friends. But yes, thank you so much for tuning into the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Tune in next time for our next episodes, our live deck techs, and our gameplays. But other than that, I think I'm about off the video here. So that is, like Caleb said, the way that we know the stream is going to end. So thank you very much for all of your participation. All right, see you, our friends.